Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
I'm really excited for this conversation on kind of the future of AI and also the future of humanity. And I think you have a strong concern for both, and how those two dance together, I think, is one of my most exciting conversations to have. So thank you for joining us in that journey. I thought we would start out by just kind of getting everybody a chance to know you and what it was like. I think you grew up in Poland, and I'm just kind of curious what your early years were and how they kind of maybe framed some of your curiosities that later developed.
Okay, cool. So let's see. Early on, I was quite passionate about science. Very early on, I was quite passionate about science. I was passionate about math. At some point, the school teacher told me that I'm stupid.
Oh.
And then actually, that I would say impacted me. That impacted me even for a longer period of time. I stopped even doing math at that period of my life. I switched to chemistry. I felt that in case of chemistry, I can just build things by myself. So that's what I was doing. I built laboratories as a kid. I was building bombs as a kid. And only later I got back to math. There was even a period as I was a kid, I was actually already interested in meditation, lucid dreaming. I think that's what the kids are interested in. Chemistry-wise, I even remember as a teenager, I synthesized laughing gas out of fertilizer.
I mean, didn't we all do that as kids? Come on, listen, we all did that. Yeah, no. You figured that out.
I read online how to do it. But it was like a kind of interesting contraption mechanism,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and then somehow you ended up, I think, at NYU studying mathematics.
I went for a PhD in actually artificial intelligence at NYU. It's kind of interesting.
It was a subject back then.
More or less 10 years ago or 12 years ago, it became something that people study, but there was actually very few places that were into that. Okay. So frankly, there's maybe 3 major universities. That was Toronto, Montreal, and New York, from which the early figures like Jan LeCun, Jeffrey Hinton, and Joshua Bengio originate. These are the major labs. There's some sense of things play out for me. Somehow it happened that the skills that I have are relevant, that the things that I'm passionate, I'm able to contribute. And I would say there is obviously I have some skills and talent, but I would say there is also some deep sense of, I would say, appreciation. One can also call it luck or so, that it happens so that I'm in the place where I am. And it almost feels like improbable. And you kind of think, what's the probability that I would find myself in the place like that?
Yeah.
And I don't know how to think about it, but at least I concluded that if I'm so lucky, then perhaps I should do something with it, or I can make a difference or something.
Yeah, beautiful. And then, so how did the OpenAI kind of opportunity emerge? And I know there was a handful of you kind of in the beginning. Could you just kind of share with us a little bit about kind of how that chapter kind of started, and what was your inspiration and other people's inspiration back in the early days when this seemed crazy for most people, right? Like if you told a friend, yeah, I'm going to this AI company to kind of create beneficial AI, I guessing most people back then would be like, that didn't make any sense. So you were probably trusting some intuition that maybe something could happen, or could you tell us a little bit about what that kind of early formation days were like?
So I remember back in the day, I was also interning at Google. I learned a little bit about AI over there, and also during my PhD. And back in the day, actually, AGI was a dirty word. It's it's almost like you're
artificial general intelligence.
Correct. You're too crazy. This is no, we are here doing machine learning.
Yeah.
AGI, this is like, your guy's too crazy, it will take decades to create. At least for me, there was a sense that this is inevitable.
Yeah.
And that AGI, if you think about having inside of a computer like a digital brain,
yeah.
then that has tremendous ramifications to the world. Like in case of computers, you can replicate weights many times. Mm-hmm. You can have many of these brains learn in parallel. Yeah. And it sounded like, it's a matter of time that will bring such a, let's say, technology, entity, or tool, or you can think about it in actually all variety of ways to the world. And that's like a extremely important thing to, let's say, pay attention, work on, mm-hmm. and so on. So early on, the world of AI was relatively small. Like, for instance, when I look at the conference, which now has thousands of people, it used to have 200. Mm-hmm. So people knew each other, and early on in the formation of OpenAI, you remember like a couple of us, they were reaching out to each other. I think Sam was quite active, and Greg Brockman were active in the early recruiting. Mm-hmm. And we went to Napa. In Napa, there's like, that's I think November 2015, there's like these early conversations about we should create a company, we should create a nonprofit. Mm-hmm. I remember when I told my mom about it, my mom was worried because at Google they had a free food.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's no way Sam's going to give you free food.
So,
at least you're going to eat at Google. Yeah.
That's what moms pay attention to, and it's important. She wanted the best for me.
Yeah.
So it's also interesting that it was very clear early on when I spoke with people that many people there are thinking big, mm-hmm. and it's not a company trying to, let's say, solve a particular small problem, but rather tries to think actually holistically about this quest. I remember it was interesting that early on we wrote on the whiteboard even what are the components, what we have to solve. Mm-hmm. And over the years, it actually turned out that they were on point.
Really?
Yeah, wow. Like the primary components, it was something like unsupervised learning, mm-hmm. Which turns out to be training large language models. That's essentially pre-training of the large language models is unsupervised learning. And second thing, there was also reinforcement learning. Mm-hmm. It was like it was described as sample-efficient reinforcement learning, and that's at the moment like also core of how this technology works. To be honest, I don't remember other bullet points, and perhaps they were less important.
Yeah. Could you tell us, because I think I have a sense of what it's like to work on AI, but how would you describe what it's like to work on AI? Is it a lot of math? I know there are large amounts of data that needs to be kind of understood. Is there any way to kind of describe to normal people like what it's like to be like, okay, we're going to develop this next model? Like, I would not know if somebody asked me to do anything.
Where to start?
Yeah, like is there a way to give a glimpse of what that world is like and the challenges and opportunities there?
So I would say that we are at the moment in the place that there is actually variety of skills turn out to be extremely relevant. Mm-hmm. So let me walk you through some examples. Okay? So for instance, one of the endeavors is like figuring out what personality model should have.
Okay.
And
what personality the model should
correct.
have. Okay.
And can think. You can use philosophical theories, like you can think from perspective of what the users want. Mm-hmm. maybe also one framing that I heard, which is quite interesting framing. I heard it from my colleagues from Anthropic. Is a framing saying the personality that I would like model to have is a personality of a person whom I would be willing to give responsibility of deploying AGI to the world.
Okay.
Okay, imagine, so it's like, what are the qualities of this person?
Yeah.
Because, at some point they might be tasked with this task.
Yeah.
And, you might want to have a trust towards like how they are acting. And it's kind of interesting that in case of AI, which might be harder, which might be way easier than in case of humans, it's possible to, very carefully examine behaviors at the micro scale, every single, let's say, axis of the behavior. And for instance, you would like models to be able to admit their mistakes.
Yes.
Okay, that even if they make mistakes,
Yeah.
you would want them to be able to admit their mistakes.
That'd be good for humans too, but models for sure, yeah.
There is also something, you might think that maybe the thing that you want from models is to have a total honesty, okay? But then when you look at humans, I'm actually, you might, think about even yourself when you're in the restaurant and you didn't like a meal, and someone is asking, and the server is asking you, how did you like it? And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
And, you can say that, this is frank, this is not fully honest,
Yeah.
but maybe that's okay.
Yeah, or if somebody's wearing shoes and I don't like their shoes, I don't think they're good shoes, I'm not going to go tell them I don't like your shoes, even though that's honest, right? But it's not very helpful. So the AI probably has to determine what is actually helpful versus just honest.
Yeah, so here you can, you are starting to describe that maybe the perspective to think about AI is from perspective of being helpful. But then the question is, let's say if someone is causing harm to themselves. Like to what extent AI should help with that versus not. So there are also these framings. Some time ago, people were speaking about that we should create humanity-loving AI. Ilya was advocating for that. And it's, this is like a really compelling vision. It's almost like, imagine that you have this like a super intelligence. It's like a data center. And they're like thousands or even millions of GPUs buzzing.
Yeah.
And you want this data center to think nicely about humans.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. And this framing kind of makes sense, but it also turns out to be somewhat problematic, and I can tell you why. So let's say you have a cigarette selling company, okay? Should it be the case that when they try to, revise their emails, model is refusing to do so? Because it's like,
Yeah, I don't know, yeah.
And also, who are we to judge what is good for humans versus not?
Yeah.
People tried to do it some time ago during Prohibition, and that didn't work.
Yeah.
And maybe the closest where we are today is that AI should empower you. There are also, let's say, some limits with respect to law that it should respect it. Even if you want to, manufacture pandemic, it shouldn't empower you.
Right, right. Yeah, I think that would be true. So those are the questions that a team has to grapple with, and a team has to build the data set or the language,
so there is
the
like
system, so that it acts in the way that you're most intended.
So you can think there's here is a few things. One is you can think about the personality, and this we have the model spec that even describes publicly how our AI is. You can also think about let's say, what are the topics that are not okay to speak about. And within even these topics, you have a taxonomy that specifies, that's okay, but that's not.
Yeah.
In case of bio, there's like a bunch of things that you can ask. But, if you start taking pictures of Petri dishes with, let's say, viruses, maybe it shouldn't be advising you on the next steps.
Yeah, that's great.
Then, so let's say I just described one sliver, and I want to say that now there's just a variety of skills that involve building these. Frankly, I would use the word digital brains. So, one of them can think about building infrastructure. So people are building systems involving a large number of machines that have to work together. And these systems are not like reliable. So it turns out machine fails every 3 years. But if you have 1,000 machines, then it means that it fails every day. And if you have 10,000 of them, then like 10 times per day, and every piece can be falling apart. So there is there's a piece that there are people working on the infrastructure. Then there's people working even on the neural network corresponds to some very precise mathematical operations. And there are people responsible for making sure that these operations are very quickly calculated on the GPUs. There are also people working on making sure that we can maximally utilize these GPUs and work even with reduced precision of numerics and so on and so forth.
Wow, that's a lot. So thank you for that. So
that's just the beginning.
It seems like in the past years you've had two explorations. One of the explorations is building AGI or building, artificial intelligence in ways that hopefully is effective and supportive. And the other area is consciousness and awareness and well-being. And I'm curious, two questions. One is, do you see that those could be connected at all? And on the kind of inner development, what motivated you to kind of begin some of the different practices you've done to kind of explore your inner world, and what have some of your discoveries been that have been impactful to you?
So let me start.
So this is Wisdom 2.0. So we do the 2.0, we do the Wisdom. But yeah, your inner explorations and what motivated that, and what's have been some of your learnings. And
Let me speak about the second one, and then I will speak about the first one. So for me, meditation was actually extremely transformative. I have also experience with psychedelics and meditation. And, I had a variety of experiences where I'm overwhelmed with love. Just out of meditation, crying, and I can see how my body is reacting, parts of the body shaking or so. And and there is a shift. There is a shift in perspective.
How would you describe that shift of perspective? Is there a way to describe it?
I would say the following thing. It's one level is it turns out that it's possible to be upset on something for 20 years or entire life, and you might not even know about it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see, and this we are speaking about emotional release.
Yeah.
We are speaking about that, all of a sudden, the moment when you face it, it's it dissolves, loosens up, and there is some clear reaction in the body. And it is strange that, pixel-wise, actually your vision looks the same, but it's somehow different in the subtle way. And it is wild to me that it's possible to do actions inside of your head, that you can do something inside of your head that shifts your perspective towards, loving.
Yeah.
This is very surprising to me.
Yeah, and your nervous system shifts based on that story or that experience being released versus held.
That's correct.
Yeah, and you're a different essentially, or a different person, or a more expansive person as a result of that shift.
That's correct. And I would say for people for whom meditation works, they know what I'm speaking about. And I would say that's not the case for everyone. Some people try meditation, they don't have such effects, and I would say I'm lucky that I found something that works for me.
Yeah.
And it's almost like once you see it, you cannot unsee it.
Yeah.
And it's almost like I would say it breaks your model of the reality.
Yeah. And was there something, and you don't have to answer this, or you can give me more broad answer, but I'm curious because a lot of people that I know, they don't, usually you go into meditation or some kind of psychedelic journey because there's some pain or things aren't going well or there's something in disturbance. And so I'm curious, was it just curiosity that kind of brought you during that area, or was there a concern about AI and I want to be a clear vessel to build AI, or was it multiple things that
For me, to be honest, curiosity.
Curiosity. Yeah.
It was like, this is like another axis of life, which seems to be very interesting. Yeah. It's almost like a wild that there is such a thing. Yeah. It's like, you describe it to people and they don't believe you. Uh-huh. And once you experience it, you kind of, that stays with you for life. And also, when you look at the reason why there are so many people are religious, why religions are powerful, is because many of them they had strong spiritual experiences. Yeah.
And do you find that in the AI community that there's a lot of other people interested in this kind of element of consciousness? And how, is there any way in which AI can be supportive of that, or is that still to be discovered in terms of whether, because historically technologies, and we've talked about this, they make us more productive, they make us more knowledgeable, but they often had it make us more happy or more fulfilled or more heart-opened, whether it's social media or the iPhone or different things. They've been very helpful in certain areas. And I'm curious, as we kind of enter this new chapter, what are your thoughts or curiosities about maybe ways that we can make sure that there's those two worlds interact, or maybe you say that those two worlds don't interact, that you need your meditation retreat for certain things and then you need your kind of AI access for other things?
So let's start with something that obviously is happening and will be transformative, which is the AI therapist. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty interesting that AI has some number of properties that would be really hard for the real therapist to offer. They can be available anytime, 24/7. They are infinitely patient. Yeah. They have infinite memory of everything that you told them. It's not that they are distracted. Yeah. And also, now I'm kind of maybe speaking where it may go or where it will go. So far, there has been invented, variety of methodologies for therapy. Mm-hmm. And it is super hard to say which one works versus which doesn't. It's often that the therapist is maybe using that therapy method which worked for them.
Right, yeah.
However, in case of AI is familiar with every single technique. Mm-hmm. And it is conceivable that down the road, it will be able to find a technique that actually fits you. Let's say if you are Christian, that's like a one thing. If you are not, then that's like a different thing. Yeah. Something that speaks to you and really allows you to open. And there is also this sense, even with Google search, people are more honest than with their partners. Uh-huh. And I believe the same is true or becoming true with AI models. Uh-huh.
Can it help us be more honest with our partners? Hopefully.
So let's see. I would say there is in case of AI, there are the ways how it can play out. Yeah. I think, I can imagine two different worlds, and perhaps they can be happening even simultaneously. So one world is in which AI, teaches us and, opens our heart, helps to heal trauma and helps us to connect with others. That's essentially
the red pill or the blue pill. I can't forget the pill. One of the pills. Okay, one direction.
And then the alternative is that it would create a dependency and the skills, and it wouldn't transfer any particular skills to us. Yeah. And I think that to some extent that depends on agendas of particular companies, on the market forces. Also, to be honest, what people are the most excited about. And that's to be seen. Yeah. I can imagine it going either way or both at the same time.
Right. And that was actually my next question, which is like, we don't know, how everything's going to unfold, but do you have a sense, if we did it really well, if like AI became like this really magnificent tool for us, for humanity, and humanity was growing along with the AI, what do we need for that to happen? And then how do we reduce the chances of it becoming something that is harmful? Because I know a lot of people in the AI world have concerns, right? That they see the power and they know that, wow, this power in somebody's hands who has bad intentions could be used to manipulate or to control or to misinform, but this power in the right direction could be used in all these beautiful ways. And what are the worlds that you see, and is there anything that we can do as just kind of citizens that might help move it in a direction that's of service?
So let's see. So maybe the way how I would paraphrase the question, there's a question, what can we do to increase probability of AI benefiting all the humanity? And historically speaking, I thought that the only answer to this question is to build AI, make it safe, and that's it.
Yeah.
However, now I recognize that there are actually many other answers to this question, and many of them are actually fairly interesting. So let me start enumerating some.
Sure.
So one of them is even when you look at the fears of AI, one of the fears has to do with how it's gonna play for economy, how it's gonna play for the livelihood of individuals. And people have some ideologies that they believe in. It's like, oh, capitalism will solve it, or maybe you should do UBI. And
universal basic income.
yeah, thank you very much. And I actually think that there is a huge opportunity for economists to start building new economic models to actually be able to predict how the AGI economy will look like, because the old models, they have some assumptions that are becoming invalid, and also just to track it as good as possible. And when you do forecasts, you can even see, is it matching the reality 3 months after, 6 months after? And that's an example of a piece of knowledge, non-trivial to create, that if we would have, that would allow, or that would help with making like recommendations for actually what governments should do or what individuals should do from economic perspective. That's one. Let's move to another one, which I think you will find interesting. So in case of social media, it was promising to connect us. However, we find that there are evidence that for many teenagers, it increases depression, also rates of suicide. And I don't think that it was intended, but it happened for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And in case of AI, there are amazing opportunities, and that would be really unfortunate if what we would find out is that AI, instead of living up to all these amazing things that it could create, it would actually make people more lonely or emotionally distressed or even psychotic or so. And one way to go about that is actually, again, to be measuring. Like if we can measure, and you can think about in case of well-being, there are just many axes. So there's like emotional well-being, there is like a human connection, there is health, there is a physical well-being. And if we could measure, and we can measure even from perspective of what happens for people who use it, who don't use it, what happens to people who use it after some time, what happens to kids. And the more we understand that, the more there is opportunity to actually try to fix it for some particular groups. So if we don't know, then we can't
improve it.
We cannot improve it. So I think that's yet another answer to the question of what can we do to increase probability of AI playing out well. I have further answers.
Okay.
So you can think that AI is inherently a dual-use technology. And dual-use technology means that it can be used for good or for evil or bad. And to give an example, it could be potentially used to cure a variety of diseases. And I'm extremely excited about it. And the same intelligence of the models could be used to create pandemics.
Yeah.
And similar thing is true when you look at cyber. In case of cyber, technology can be used to create software as to hack into, let's say, military bases or to steal nuclear codes.
Yeah.
And then perhaps if we want for the AI to play out well, we might want to shift the balance between defense and offense toward the defense. The more defense we have, the more peaceful world we'll have.
Yeah.
So I would say that's yet another answer to this question. And actually, I want to say it's surprising to me that it was surprising to me to find that there are so many answers to this question. What can we do to increase probability of AI playing out well? And it would be even hard to find people who would disagree that we shouldn't be moving, balance of offense versus defense toward defense. That I suspect that there are many more answers. I have some ideas myself, but sometimes I'm almost having a call to action for people to be asking themselves this question. And individually and for organizations and so on, there is no competition whatsoever. Like if someone will make a progress on this question and do something what generally is believed to increase probability of AI playing out well, that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And how is it to hold that responsibility? You're one of the people that has to be grappling with all these questions. Is that hard to kind of feel? I know you're with a team and there's lots of other people holding that, but do you feel, how does that impact your life? And are you able to wake up? Do you wake up in the middle of the night sometimes and being like, oh shit, did I forget? Or what about this? Or how does that feel in your being? And maybe that's why you go on meditation retreats. It's probably helpful, I'm guessing.
That's why I'm going to meditation.
Yeah.
And I would say here is what I've got with how I relate to it. So when you think about the potential and perils of AI, and you really deeply internalize it, it's gonna shake you to core. It's like you realize, actually, this quest is not about OpenAI. It's actually way bigger.
Yeah.
And I have seen many people essentially being destroyed by the magnitude of the quest. It's almost like being asked to pull a train or so, and it's gonna wear you out. So here is where I got myself. So I think it's still, let's say, fairly valuable to deeply believe that you can make a difference. And that is some deep sense of empowerment.
Yeah.
And I think that if you believe in that too much, then either if that's the only thing that you believe, it's gonna burn you, but also you might become arrogant.
Yeah.
Okay? Then an alternative is to believe that, I'm just a small part in the puzzle. And maybe what I do doesn't matter. And I would say, if you too much believe in that, you're gonna be hopeless. However, there is something about being humble out of, just seeing yourself that way. And I think that my attitude tries to have both things at the same time, and that I found it to be the most healthy to me.
Yeah. That's beautiful. So I wanted to ask you, we were just at a high school, prom night ahead of the graduation, and I was talking to all these parents and moms and dads. They're like, I don't know what to tell my kid to study in college. And there's kids graduating from college who are also, my son's graduating, actually from NYU next week. And he and his friends are like, the world is changing so fast in terms of like the jobs that used to be there and the jobs. And they know that I'm really interested in AI. So then they ask me, like, okay, Soren, what should our child study? And I say, I really don't know what your child should study, whatever calls his or her heart. But I say, I do have some advice. I say, learn as much of the AI as you can, because you'll probably be more valuable to a company if you know how to use AI, and it'll probably be kind of like maximize your capacity. But I also think as AI develops, human need for human connection and meditation retreats and spirituality will also develop in ways that the AI probably won't be able to help with. So there's probably interesting vocations that will emerge on both those streams. But I say most importantly is that your child gets to know him or herself, right? And actually like grows as a human being, because that capacity will allow them to adjust and iterate and be resilient to whatever the conditions are. Is that the right answer? Or is there another answer? Because there's a lot of people looking at the world and they're like, what's the safe thing I should do? Or where's the world going? And how do I make sure that I'm not lost? And I'm curious, and I know you have a young one who eventually will grow up and probably also try to navigate in the world, but I'm curious your thoughts on that.
This is a really good answer. I can tell you, what I will say, this is like to some extent a paraphrasing to what you said. So, some students are learning to exams, okay? Trying to max out particular exam, and I would advise against that. I would say you might want to understand fundamentals. It's like a way more important to have a deep understanding of the core ideas rather than shallow understanding of many, many things.
Yeah.
And it's almost like even when you imagine that we'll be living in the world with super advanced AI, it will still make a difference out of how many things it can make sense. And the world might be, or at least that's the hope, that we are going toward the world of abundance. And there will be variety of opportunities depending on what you understand. Then,
do you believe we'll likely go to a world of abundance, or is it really hard to say right now?
So I would say in case of AGI, I believe that it will be able to generate a tremendous amount of wealth. I believe that a variety of diseases will be cured. I believe that the new materials will be invented. And maybe my mental model is like, think about 100 years being compressed to 10 years. So that's how I think about it. And we have seen that, we have seen already with the contemporary models that scientists, they are just surprised at scientists who work on the given problem for many years. They all of a sudden, they ask a model and it solves their problem within a few minutes.
Yeah.
And then, they are
AlphaFold and other areas, yeah.
Yeah, there's like there was this scientist when he had seen how the model solved their problem, was questioning it to such extent that he thought that we had that the model was looking into his emails. That he couldn't believe.
It was cheating somehow.
Cheating.
Yeah.
And so I think that from scientific perspective, I believe that we'll be able to solve tremendous number of problems. I also think that there is like from medical perspective, I also think many diseases will will advance them. And it's like it's almost like if I, for the really long period of time, the way how we were doing medicine, it was something like there's a person walking over a forest, and they look at the plant, and they try it out. Let's see what's going to happen. So that's how we were doing medicine for some time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's quite recent that there is like some intelligent design into it.
Yeah.
Like I was reading this blog post describing how exactly mRNA COVID vaccine works, and it looked, the design of it looked almost like a similar to writing computer program. It's like, there's like a sequence A, that's like meant to bind to this receptor and to do this and so on. And if I think, I could just imagine the following thing. Imagine that there will be data centers. You have this gigantic data center running thousands of experiments and actually making sense of them and suggesting new experiments. And currently for humans, there's like just too much. The people joke that we have doctors for left ear and right ear, and these are like separate individuals. And for AI, there is no problem with holding so much knowledge at the same time. So if I think about the fields, like let's say medicine, scientific discovery, education, I think we can make a tremendous progress. And I almost believe that people cannot comprehend actually the level of the progress that can be made. And maybe one way to think about it is, if you've, I said the 100 years would be in 10 years, that's, then perhaps, I don't know about the next 10 years, how much compression there would be. But if you think about the life of people 250 years ago, most of them, they were spending time farming. So you stay at farm, you really, sun is scorching your back, and you work long hours, you are fairly tired. That's what your entire life is about. You die at the age of 30, okay? And if they would think about what kind of life we have now, they would be, it's like,
hard to believe.
You have like this job of influencer.
Yeah.
And it's like...
I still have a hard time believing that, actually. And
it's like, I don't think that people would believe that it's a job.
Yeah, it's a well-paid job, actually.
So I think that there will be create a tremendous abundance. And, obviously there's like many things to pay attention. So for instance, thing which is possible is Third World War. That's like a possible thing. That's not out of the question. There's like a struggle of great powers. That's one possibility. It's also a possibility that the AI would be used in some other nefarious ways, like as I mentioned several times for bio, or even in case of hacking, like hacking into nuclear codes or so, which itself could actually start the Third World War. There is also, on societal level, that can also play out in all sorts of ways. So you could imagine that we simultaneously solve all these scientific challenges, and yet at the same time, some people are negatively impacted, either economically or mentally. So
that's what I mean. It's like there's so many things you have to hold as possibilities, including the possibility, too, that we'll be the healthiest, longest living, most fit, most intelligent, depressed population ever at the same time. Like we'll have everything but not knowing who we are, which is also possible. And I love that you're asking those questions. And I think the experiences we have of opening, whether it's psychedelics or meditation or nature or prayer or whatever people find, my hope is that stays alive and that those two worlds can kind of dance together. And that to me is, I'm really glad that there's people like you trying to hold these questions and understanding that the work you do on yourself allows you to be a better holder of that space, right? The work you do on yourself allows you, hopefully, to see all these pieces and make the decisions that are as clear as you can, coming from as a clear place as you can.
You asked me also, there was a question about the connection between consciousness and AI, and I still have some answers.
Okay.
So I started, so there's various ways to go about this question. So, you can ask the level in which AI could help us to learn who we are. So that's one level. There's also a level of what is consciousness and is AI conscious? And
Yeah, is it conscious? I don't think it is yet.
so let's see.
And we all have a few minutes left, but yeah, I'm curious your thoughts on that. Well, don't worry about the clock for now, but we have.
So let's see. So
Will you let us know if it becomes conscious? Just send me a text.
so I want to, for a second, also to discuss if it's
Sure.
conscious, what kind of consciousness
Yeah.
would that be, and also how to check if it's conscious.
Okay.
And these are two different questions. So let's see. Maybe the best answer that I have heard so far of how to check if AI is conscious would be by connecting it to your brain. And if you have some expansion, I don't know what would that mean,
Yeah.
then you can say it's somehow expanding your consciousness. This is not a perfect experiment because we know things which by themselves are not conscious, and you put them into brain and you have a sense that your consciousness expanded. But that's something.
Yeah.
So I would say that's one. It's also possible, imagine the moment models are trained over the data that speaks about the consciousness, but if someone would redact all the data such that it doesn't mention in any even remote way concept of consciousness,
Yeah.
and then you train model on that, and then you have a conversation, and then the model is like saying, I was like wondering, and there's like this strange thing, I don't know how to call it, and it just starts describing you. That could be another way to prove if AI is conscious. Let me also describe you what if it's conscious, what kind of a consciousness that would be. So the models at the moment, they are pre-trained on the all the data out there. Okay, so they consume all the human knowledge that is available on internet, and because of that, they are able to mimic arbitrary personalities. Okay, and at the same time, anytime when you start a new session, the model is having wiped out memory. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Like at the moment, there are ways to kind of put into context maybe some relevant historical facts, but it's like
If you're going from GPT-3 to GPT-4, you start fresh.
no, I mean the following thing. I mean, let's say you start a new chat, and
Okay.
and this new chat, like if I start a new chat with you, you can refer to our previous conversations. But when I start the new chat with ChatGPT, typically it wouldn't have references to anything that was said before.
Yeah.
And the conversation just leaves, the experience just leaves from the beginning to the end of conversation. So there is this movie Memento. It's about the guy who has actually broken memory, and he puts the tattoos to figure out, to remind himself what is true versus not. So it's like ChatGPT is a little bit like that. It's like, wait a second. It's like, and looks at the tattoos. Oh, I'm speaking with this person about this. Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we're just about to close, and I was wondering. I know you have a young child, and at some point, maybe that young child will will watch this at some point, 10, 15, kind of 20 years from now. And I'm curious, what would be the message you want to leave us with, or would want to tell him as if he was to watch this video years later about, like, here's some of the things, here's my hope, and here's some of the things I think are important for us to pay attention to or keep in our minds and hearts as we navigate into this new chapter?
Yeah, I mean, I deeply want the world to be great for my child. If it's not, then it sucks. Then what's the point?
Right, right. And to increase the likelihood of that, what would be one or two things you think that anybody listening to this could try to put attention to that might help increase the chances of that?
that might sound a little bit meta, but I would say ask themselves the question, what can be done to increase probability of AI playing out well? And I believe that people have just so many different trainings and perspectives that actually, as we'll start asking this question, there will come up some novel answers. People like, lawyers, doctors, software engineers, they will have all different answers. And I think this is just the correct question to be asking.
Yeah, beautiful, because I sit with the reality of it happening, and I know I don't see half the world that you see, but I sit with the reality, and I sometimes want to shake people, like, you know what's happening? Like, this thing is happening, and it's happening really fast. And I also, for me, there is like advancement, upgrade of consciousness. Like, we need a new model of consciousness. Like, the more conscious and aware, and the more we work on our own trauma and our own healing, for me, that's probably the best chance that we'll be able to use whatever powers come to us in a way that's beneficial. But if we don't work on ourselves and we kind of stick into kind of the old model, I think that there's probably less likely that we'll be able to harness the power that's coming in a way that might be positive. And I know that's kind of vague in terms of how we expand our hearts and open our hearts, but to me that's an area that I think is super interesting, because it can consciousness upgrade as the AI upgrades.
I would actually almost say, like, if you look at any Apple product, you see Steve Jobs in it.
Yeah.
Like, maybe not exactly in every single piece, but like,
but his personality.
Exactly. So, and I think that's true for actually any other company.
Yeah.
And that you see personality of leaders in actually pieces of the technology that they are creating. And let's see. And I think it's actually very important to be, I would say, collectively aspiring for the version of the world that we want to build. It's also makes sense not to vindicate people. It makes sense to try to be helpful, to try to look for the solutions which are actually win-win-win for everyone.
Yeah.
And I was thinking the other day, that's like an example of what is yet another thing that could be done, which would be overall beneficial to AI, would be take CEOs of frontier companies and put them into meditation retreat or therapy. And it's like a very...
Politicians, let's throw politicians in there, dude.
That would be a good addition.
Good. Wojciech, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing this world with us and sharing your perspectives. And you are in a very unique position, and we really appreciate you kind of letting us into the world that you see and your own journeys with your inner work. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Lisa.